Welcome to World Epic History. Today, we journey back nearly 2,000 years into the scorched hills of Judea, where faith and empire clashed in one of the bloodiest wars of the ancient world. This is the story of the Bar Kokhba Revolt, the last great uprising of ancient Israel against the might of Rome. A war born from hope, carried by faith, and ended in devastation, yet remembered as both heroism and tragedy. From hidden caves to burning fortresses, from prayers whispered in darkness to battles that shook the empire, the revolt carved a mark so deep that its echoes endure to this day. This is not just a tale of defeat, but a lesson of resilience, identity, and the eternal spirit of a people who refused to surrender. The Bar Kokhba Revolt stood as the final great uprising of ancient Israel against the might of Rome. Between 132 and 135 AD, Jewish rebels, inspired by messianic hope, rose to defy the empire. It was one of the most desperate chapters in Jewish history, remembered as both heroic and tragic in a long saga of Roman wars. Tensions in ancient Israel had simmered long before the Bar Kokhba Revolt erupted. Roman policies under Emperor Hadrian threatened Jewish identity. The ban on circumcision, coupled with plans to rebuild Jerusalem as a pagan colony called Aelia Capitolina, pushed Jewish communities to the brink. These measures ignited resentment, laying the foundation for one of the fiercest Roman wars. At the heart of the rebellion was Simon Bar Kokhba, hailed by many as the long-awaited Messiah. His leadership gave courage to thousands who believed Jewish history had reached a turning point. Under his banner, Judean fighters prepared to reclaim independence. For a brief moment, ancient Israel envisioned freedom from Roman wars that had crushed them before. The Bar Kokhba Revolt began in 132 AD with surprise attacks on Roman garrisons. Jewish fighters struck swiftly, using caves and hills of Judea to their advantage. For the first time in decades, Roman authority faltered in ancient Israel. Villages rejoiced as Roman wars seemed to shift in favor of the rebels. Simon Bar Kokhba organized his forces like a disciplined army. Coins were minted in his name, declaring the freedom of Israel. For a brief moment, the rebellion looked like a reborn state. Jewish history celebrated this vision of independence, even as the Roman wars promised a brutal response. Ancient Israel lived a fleeting dream of sovereignty. Roman reports described fierce Jewish resistance. Rebels fortified towns and dug intricate tunnels for supplies and ambushes. Ancient Israel had turned into a battlefield of determination. The Bar Kokhba Revolt demonstrated remarkable organization, one that shocked even seasoned Roman commanders. Jewish history remembered these days as a time of strength and defiance against an empire. At first, Roman forces underestimated the scale of the uprising. But soon, Emperor Hadrian realized that this was no minor revolt. He summoned General Sextus Julius Severus, one of Rome's most capable commanders, from Britain. The Roman wars were about to enter a new brutal phase, one that would test the endurance of ancient Israel. Severus avoided direct battles. Instead, he launched a war of attrition, cutting off supplies and besieging rebel strongholds. The Bar Kokhba Revolt turned into a grinding struggle. Ancient Israel endured hunger and exhaustion, but the Jewish rebels refused to surrender. Jewish history remembered this as a fight where spirit often outweighed resources. The rebel strongholds spread across Judea, from fortified villages to mountain caves. Bar Kokhba coordinated defense lines that challenged Rome's advance. For a time, ancient Israel resembled a fortress of resistance. Roman wars dragged on longer than expected, costing the empire dearly in men and supplies. The Bar Kokhba Revolt had become one of Rome's bloodiest struggles. Despite Roman pressure, Jewish morale remained high. Bar Kokhba was praised as the Prince of Israel. Ancient coins bore his name, reinforcing his messianic image. In Jewish history, few figures inspired such unity. But this faith in his leadership also meant that defeat would carry devastating consequences for ancient Israel's people and spirit. Roman strategy grew relentless. Severus avoided risky battles, instead tightening sieges. Villages suspected of aiding rebels were destroyed. The Bar Kokhba Revolt revealed Rome's determination to crush defiance at any cost. Ancient Israel's countryside burned, yet resistance continued, etched into Jewish history as a testament to unyielding faith. Starvation struck besieged towns. Families huddled in caves, surviving on scraps. Roman wars tested not only armies, but entire communities of ancient Israel. Still, the rebels fought on, striking with guerrilla tactics. The Bar Kokhba Revolt had turned Judea into a landscape of both courage and tragedy. Hadrian himself reported to the Senate that Rome faced grave losses. Unlike other Roman wars, this conflict could not be ended swiftly. Ancient Israel's determination astonished the empire. Yet, with each passing month, Roman legions tightened their grip, determined to break the last Jewish rebellion. The fortress of Betar became the heart of the rebellion. Bar Kokhba made it his headquarters, rallying fighters and civilians alike. Roman wars pressed closer, but the rebels believed Betar would stand as the symbol of Jewish history's resilience. Ancient Israel gathered its hopes behind these walls, awaiting Rome's inevitable assault. Inside Betar, thousands prepared for siege. Families, priests, and warriors lived side by side. The Bar Kokhba Revolt carried not only swords but faith, with prayers for deliverance echoing in synagogues. Jewish history remembered this as both a sanctuary and a trap, where hope and desperation intertwined under the shadow of Rome. The Romans tightened their siege. Roads were blocked, water supplies cut, and starvation loomed. The Bar Kokhba Revolt had reached its climax. Ancient Israel's fighters launched desperate sorties, trying to break the Roman ring. Yet the empire's discipline endured, encircling Betar until escape became impossible. In 135 AD, the fortress of Betar fell. Roman legions stormed its gates, and slaughter followed. Bar Kokhba himself was killed in the battle, his body discovered among the ruins. With his death, the rebellion collapsed. The last stand of ancient Israel ended in blood, remembered in Jewish history as a day of mourning. The Roman victory was absolute but costly. Thousands of rebels and civilians perished, and Judea lay devastated. Emperor Hadrian, weary of the struggle, forbade Jews from entering Jerusalem. Ancient Israel's dream of freedom was buried beneath ruins. The Bar Kokhba Revolt became one of the darkest tragedies in Jewish history. After Betar's fall, the land of ancient Israel was scarred. Villages lay in ashes, and fields turned to wilderness. Roman wars left Judea emptied of life, its people scattered. The Bar Kokhba Revolt had ended, but the memory of resistance lived on in Jewish history. As a symbol of courage despite overwhelming odds. Hadrian sought to erase Jewish identity. Jerusalem was rebuilt as Aelia Capitolina, a Roman colony with pagan temples. The ancient city of David was no longer allowed to echo with Hebrew prayers. In Jewish history, this was a crushing wound, as Rome tried to rewrite the soul of ancient Israel. Survivors of the Bar Kokhba Revolt were sold into slavery or fled into exile. Jewish history entered a new age of diaspora, where communities spread across the empire. Ancient Israel was silenced by Roman wars, but the faith of its people endured, carried far beyond the ruins of Judea. For Rome, the revolt was both victory and burden. Ancient sources recorded massive losses, with legions depleted by years of brutal fighting. Roman wars in Judea had drained the empire's strength, showing that conquest often came at a terrible cost. The Bar Kokhba Revolt was remembered as one of the deadliest challenges to Roman power. Yet in Jewish memory, Bar Kokhba remained both hero and warning. Some hailed him as a messianic warrior, while others saw his revolt as reckless. In the tapestry of Jewish history, he symbolized the yearning for freedom, even as ancient Israel paid the ultimate price for resistance against Rome. The ruins of Judea told the cost of defiance. Ancient Israel, once vibrant, lay in silence. Roman wars had reshaped the land, but Jewish faith turned loss into memory. The Bar Kokhba Revolt showed the world that freedom could be pursued, even when victory was impossible. Hadrian's decrees banned Jewish practices, yet underground communities preserved them in secret. Ancient Israel was erased from maps, but not from memory. In Jewish history, the revolt marked the end of sovereignty in the homeland for centuries, yet it also kept alive the dream of return. Rome celebrated its triumph with monuments, yet the victory felt hollow. The Bar Kokhba Revolt had nearly broken the empire's strength in the east. Roman wars gained land, but at immense human cost. For ancient Israel, the tragedy lived on longer than Rome's pride. From the ashes of the revolt emerged the Jewish diaspora's resilience. Communities flourished in exile, carrying traditions across continents. Jewish history transformed tragedy into identity, turning the memory of ancient Israel's struggle into a cornerstone of faith. The Bar Kokhba Revolt was not forgotten. It became eternal. Ancient historians, both Roman and Jewish, wrote of rivers of blood and cities destroyed. Yet behind the horror, they recorded the courage of a people who refused to surrender. The Bar Kokhba Revolt became not only an episode of war, but a lesson of endurance in Jewish history. Centuries later, the Bar Kokhba Revolt remained a defining story. For Rome, it was a testament to the empire's relentless power. For Jewish history, it was a wound and a memory, shaping identity for generations. Ancient Israel was gone, yet the spirit of its rebellion echoed through time. The Bar Kokhba Revolt ended in devastation, but it carved a permanent mark in Jewish history. Ancient Israel's final war against Rome became a story of hope, sacrifice, and survival. Though the land was lost, the people endured. The memory of the last Jewish-Roman war continues to inspire faith, reminding us that even in defeat, the spirit endures.